have some fun with small samples. Kyren Paris is now batting .440 with 5 homers, 4 steals, and a 1653 OPS.
Pretty good.
Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Thursday, April 10th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, got some segments planned for you. We've got this or that, buy or sell. We had a fun pitchers duel out in Detroit, and much more. Let's get into players of the night.
Oh my goodness gracious!
All right. Well, we talked about Kyren Paris last night. Scott, you were not here. So we'll give you the opportunity to opine because another big game here, 2 for 4 with a double dong. He has started 4 straight games for the Angels. This was also his 4th appearance in the outfield. So very close to gaining outfield eligibility along with second base. I mentioned the numbers up top. It's 5 homers, 4 steals. Minor league track record was not great 2 years ago, flashed some power and speed. We learned last night that he changed his swing in the offseason. He worked with Aaron Judge's hitting coach, and early on, small sample, but you know the payoff has been there so far, and 52% rostered. So Scott, what are your thoughts here on Kyren Paris? He's kind of the talk of the town. Should he be a must-add player in fantasy right now?
I think in roto leagues, certainly. You get into head-to-head leagues, you're talking smaller long, and a lot of hitters. It's a really hard. Must-add is a really high threshold to meet for a hitter in a head-to-head league. So we'll just say that right off the top. But yeah, what Kyren Paris is doing is interesting, and we don't really know what he can be with this new swing. I mean, we've seen swing changes totally transform players in the past. Josh Donaldson, JD Martinez, AJ Pollock. Who were you naming, Chris?
Daniel Murphy.
Sure. Yeah. Daniel Murphy. A lot of examples from 10 years ago, basically. But yeah, it's interesting because that hitting coach called it 180-degree swing change. And obviously
that would actually be if he started hitting lefty.
Right. You know, or like with his back facing the plate.
Like that's, just not to be a pedant, but
Right. So I think the one thing we know for sure Kyren Paris has is speed. He can steal bases. And I think historically, let me double check this. In the minors, his walk rates have been decent.
Yeah.
So he can get on base, he can steal bases. It's just a matter of can he continue to make high enough quality contact? Can he continue to avoid strikeouts, which he did not do very well in the minors? But those are both issues that the swing change is intended to address. I would approach Kyren Paris with a high amount of skepticism, but like I was saying for Tyler Soderstrom the other day, this is the time of year where most of the players we didn't see coming are going to pop up. And when one of those guys emerges, if you can afford to make space for him, you should, and just see where it takes you. You shouldn't, like, if you drafted Marcus Semien or whatever as your second baseman.
That's exactly the name I was going to say.
And you're disappointed in the way he's performed so far. You don't go trade him off because now you've solved the problem with Kyren Paris. But you that's that we know.
Scott, are you with us?
I on my end I am, but I take it I'm not on your end.
I think you're good now.
Okay. I am trying different things with my internet setup for what it's worth, and people get frustrated with it. Believe me, I am the most frustrated with it, but I am not a tech whiz. And so I just have to Google things or take suggestions from people in the comments and try to apply them the best I can. And usually they don't work, but I did find a solution that worked last year. So maybe I'll find a new one that works this year. Anyway. Yeah. I think you take a flyer on Paris and see where it goes, because if nothing else, he'll be able to fall back on the speed. And Ron Washington says he's going to play him one way or another. They'll find a spot for him.
Yeah. Kyren Paris, 52% rostered on CBS. I looked up the sprint speed, 92nd percentile early on in the season here. Some names that are rostered in more leagues than Paris, just ahead of him. Willie Casher. I think that's a pretty easy.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Yeah.
What about Otto Lopez, who had the nice start, and now he's, I think he's one for his last.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
Didn't play on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm not a big Otto Lopez believer. I think the one thing you can count on him for is speed, which I already said you can for Paris too.
Mm-hmm. Tyler Fitzgerald.
Sure.
Yeah. I think Tyler Fitzgerald is close to slumping his way out of a job. Frankly, I don't know who would take his place, but it was always a long shot that he was going to be able to remain a viable starter in the majors.
All right. And of course, if you had Matt McClain as your starting second baseman, obviously you're not dropping him. But if you need a replacement while he's on the IL, Kyren Paris makes a ton of sense there as well. Chris, let's go over to you for your player of the night.
Yeah, Kevin Gausman, who looked like an ace today after not looking like one for the first two starts. He struck out 10 over 8 innings against the Red Sox, who have been really good offensively so far this season. Allowed 1 unearned run, 4 hits, no walks, and I don't buy it at all. And maybe I will grant that maybe this is just my own blind spot, because the one thing we can say about Kevin Gausman so far this season is that his fastball looks a lot better. The induced vertical break is up, and that has been since the preseason, spring training. Yeah. Velocity was down in this one, but still had the good shape. Still got 13 whiffs on it on 34 swings. That's a 38% whiff rate. That is a massive number. The third highest number of whiffs on the four-seamer that Kevin Gausman has ever had in his career. The highest was some start last July when I think he also had 10 strikeouts, and that didn't signal a huge turnaround in his fortunes. So I don't really think this does either, because the splitter still just isn't there. He had 4 whiffs on 19 swings with that today, 21% whiff rate with the splitter today. That actually raised his whiff rate for the season with the splitter, which was 11% coming in. We are dealing with really small sample sizes, but Gausman's splitter was not as effective as it has been last year. That's always been the most important pitch for him, at least in terms of his ability to generate whiffs and strikeouts. It was a 43% whiff rate in 2023. It was 33.5% last year. Through 3 starts, it's 13.5%. I just don't really see how Kevin Gausman can be a difference maker without his splitter. I think there can be starts where he looks really good, like he did last year. But I think what I'm expecting moving forward from Kevin Gausman is more or less what he did last year, which was a 3.83 ERA, worse peripherals, an average strikeout rate. I think if there's a sell high opportunity here, I would try to take the off ramp with Kevin Gausman.
There really could be something here with the fastball, but I do agree. Can he succeed with just a fastball all of a sudden? Because we do need that splitter for Kevin Gausman, and it just hasn't been that effective this season. But looking at his induced vertical break year over year, last year he averaged 16 inches of IVB on the fastball. This year it's up to 18, and this start it was 19. I mean, that is an elite level mark according to the Pitcher List website. 18 inches of IVB is 88th percentile for a fastball. So Kevin Gausman is doing something really good with his fastball right now, but is that enough? I don't know the answer.
I mean, I wish we had.
Scott, hop out and hop back in, because it's a mess right now. But Chris, I'll throw it to you. I don't know if it could be enough. I don't know if if it does all of a sudden turn into an elite fastball. I don't know if that's just enough for Kevin Gausman.
It's possible. The problem is we've never seen a successful Kevin Gausman without a really good splitter. And that's what I keep coming back to, because the splitter has been so key for him. And look, maybe he just finds it. There have been times in previous years where the splitter feel has not been there, especially early on in his career, and then he rediscovers it. Maybe that's it. But I don't have faith that Kevin Gausman can be a difference maker without a really good splitter.
Scott, you were here. How do you sound?
For now, I don't know. You tell me. You guys always sound fine to me. Like the other thing, like people need to know, there are 0 interruptions to my internet apart from this. Like I'm a modern person. I work on a computer all day. I'm on the internet constantly. All my TV watching comes in through the internet. No interruptions. It's fine. It's just broadcasting out. So maybe if some tech whiz out there wants to take that hint and steer me the right direction, it is just broadcasting out. And it's usually just this time of day too. Like we've never had this issue on the rare. Maybe it's just we so rarely do it earlier in the day, but that's it. It's just around the 12. It's really as we're nearing 1 a.m.
Yeah,
got to get these upload speeds up.
I did have a buy or sell later on for Kevin Gausman, and it was just leave Gausman in your lineup because trying to figure out when to start or sit him, you will go crazy. So, Scott, do you buy or sell that? Just leave Gausman in your lineup.
I mean, it depends how deep the league is. It depends how deep your pitching staff is. I can't sit here and say Gausman is for sure a must start. He didn't look like a must start prior to this start, right?
No, we told people to sit him.
This start was amazing.
I had people yell at me for that.
Yeah. I'm kind of baffled by it. Like I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, I wish we had a story behind the peppier fastball for Gausman like we do for Kyren Paris' new swing, because that might help me buy into it a little more. I know he gained some strength in the offseason, so maybe he's just muscling up more. I don't know. But I do agree that Gausman was so geared toward his splitter. Like it was everything for him. And how do you take that away? The weapon that made him who he is and expect him to still be good. He was here on Wednesday. He was really good, but I agree with Chris's sentiment that it's hard to imagine how that could be a sustainable plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think baffling is pretty fair word for Kevin Gausman at this point. Scott, over to you for your player of the night.
My player of the night actually isn't Kyren Paris. You offloaded yours onto me, which was nice. I mean that. It was nice. That probably sounded sarcastic. Mine is Tyler Mahle. How about this? 2 hit the Cubs over 7 innings. 1 run allowed, 4 strikeouts. 9 whiffs on 94 pitches. So the strikeout number isn't that impressive. The whiff total isn't that impressive. But I will point out, Tyler Mahle, of those 9 whiffs, 7 came on his fastball. Even though it was 40 degrees outside and it was down a couple miles per hour, the shape of that fastball was generating whiffs. And that was true in his first start of the season, too. Exactly 7. Final start of spring training, Tyler Mahle got 9 whiffs on his fastball. And if you go back to Tyler Mahle's heyday with the Reds, didn't he have like a 210 strikeout season, something like that? He did have
the 1 year where everything came together.
Yeah. That was always the secret for Tyler Mahle. He had this really difficult to categorize fastball. And I'm guessing, like looking at the movement profile on it, looking at the whiffs it's generating, I feel like he's gotten that back after the time lost to Tommy John surgery. And if that's the case on a good team, Tyler Mahle could be a useful fantasy option. I'm not saying he's must add, but we're kind of looking for new pitchers to add after getting through the first wave. And Tyler Mahle's kind of standing out to me.
Yeah, he is another one. Again, it's I don't want to sound like a broken record, but he's another one with the IVB. Like the induced vertical break on his fastball is 19 inches in this start, and he's another one that it grades out 86th percentile according to Pitcher List in that specific metric. So, Tyler Mahle doing some nice things with his fastball. Does he have enough of secondary pitches here to complement that fastball that we've seen from Tyler Mahle to this point? He is widely available on CBS, 21% rostered, home against the Angels next week. they've kind of been a, I don't know, pesky matchup because they've been hitting some home runs here. So they're not as easy as a matchup as they have been in years past, but I don't think it's, I wouldn't completely shy away from it by any means. 21%. Yeah, I think that number could be higher for Tyler Mahle. I think we probably should just talk about Max Meyer right now as well, because he was, I think, probably the best waiver wire pitcher of the day, or one of them.
Absolutely.
And he went 6 1/3 shutout innings here, 4 strikeouts at the Mets, which obviously is a really, really tough matchup and tough place to pitch. It was cold. Chris, you were at the game, boots on the ground here, scouting Max Meyer. What did you see from this start? And is he a pitcher that, is kind of entering must-add territory, like over that 70-80% threshold?
So the problem for Meyer, he was great in this one, even though the velocity was down. Still had like 7 whiffs on the slider. That has been a really, really good pitch for him. The fastball didn't get hit hard. The sinker was working, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is just the team context. He got the win today, but that's not going to happen very often. And I would think there aren't going to be a ton of 6-inning starts here. More than last year, because I think he's going to pitch better, and I think his arsenal's deeper, and he should be more well-equipped for it. But there are still going to be plenty of early hooks. And so I think there's just limited ceiling, even though I do think Max Meyer looks like a pretty good pitcher right now. And so must add, I lean yes, especially in roto leagues where the win matters, but the difference between a pitcher who gets 6 wins and a pitcher who gets 10 wins over the course of the season isn't that great, but it can matter a lot in those weekly leagues. And so I would say in any categories league, Max Meyer's probably pretty close to must roster, and head-to-head points leagues probably depends more on what the upcoming matchups are. I think his next matchup is pretty tough.
D-backs,
yeah. So not necessarily rushing out to add him for that one, but I do think Max Meyer looks very good. Didn't give up a hit until the 6th inning in this one. It was a very good start and a very good start to the season. 19 strikeouts, 5 walks, and 18 innings of work. That's really impressive.
Scott, who do you like more in a vacuum, Meyer or Mahle?
Meyer. I mean, the team context for Mahle is better, but I think the upside for Meyer is higher. And
you'd be willing to take a flyer?
I'd be willing to take a flyer. I'm a little surprised he's not more rostered than he is already, because I feel like he is part of that first wave of pitchers we've been talking up as additions. I wonder how much Casey Mize
is like 20% more rostered. And I'd rather have Max Meyer to answer a question Frank was going to ask.
Yeah, that's one of your questions later on, this or that, Meyer or Casey Mize, who's 81% rostered versus 61%.
Yeah, I'd rather have Mize, but they're very close in my rankings. I've kind of moved them up together. They're inside the top 70 at starting pitcher for me now. Mally's outside of that, but he's trending up too.
Yeah, I think I slightly prefer Mize as well. I mean, both guys obviously had big prospect pedigree. The team context, again, that is a big deciding factor here. And not that I think the Tigers are amazing, but they should be better than the Marlins. They're both good barks to pitch in, but I'll give Casey Mize the slight edge over Max Meyer there. Wanted to give a shout out to the Brewers, who have really enjoyed their trip to Coors Field. They put up 17 runs on 13 hits. Jackson Trio 2 for 5 with his 4th home run and 5 RBI. He now has 16 RBI on the season. Again, it's like opening day, a distant memory. 0 for 5 with the 5 strikeouts there. Christian Yelich 2 for 5 with a sock and a shoe. His 3rd home run, his 3rd steal. I believe that was a 465-foot home run for Christian Yelich. And William Contreras back-to-back days with a home run. Chris, you shared a pretty interesting stat before we started about run differential here on the Brewers.
Yeah, entering yesterday's game, the Brewers were minus 22 for the season. They are now minus 1. That's what a couple of blowouts at Colorado will do.
Yeah, I saw the Rockies are a league worst minus 33 in run differential early on, which is not overly surprising if we're being honest.
Was that including today?
I think that was after.
That actually feels low after a 15-run loss.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I hope it is after today. Hopefully I have those numbers correct. I saw a tweet somewhere. Before we get into news and notes, just want to quickly talk about a fun pitchers duel out in Detroit.
It's time to duel.
Max Fried up against Jack Flaherty. What's even cooler about this specific duel is that they were high school teammates. And so it was really cool. Their first time facing off against each other on the mound. And Max Fried had his first signature start with the Yankees, 7 shutout innings, 11 strikeouts, had 15 whiffs on 97 pitches. On the other side, Jack Flaherty is off to a nice start himself, 5 1/3 shutout, had 9 strikeouts, 13 whiffs on 92 pitches. Both guys were great. Both guys were expected to be great coming into the season. I think there was skepticism on both, obviously more on Jack Flaherty. But do you guys have any overarching thoughts on either of these two?
Fried's an ace, and he pitched like an ace. I don't have any more thoughts than that. He's awesome. Flaherty hasn't quite locked in yet. I don't think he's gone 6 innings in any of his starts. He has not. Yeah, and this was his first like big strikeout game as well. But the whiff rates on the slider and curveball have been pretty good. Fastball velocity is a little bit down, but I still have a lot of faith in Jack Flaherty.
I think the biggest issue for him is he just hasn't been that efficient. 5 walks in his 11 innings in his last 2 starts. And that was a big key to his rebirth last year, was getting the control in line. So it got worse when he went to the Dodgers, and everything seemed to get worse for Flaherty. So I do hope to see that improve. His last 2 starts have been against the Dodgers and the Yankees, and he's fared well.
Yeah, he's held his own.
Yeah.
So I
think I benched him for both of those in a few spots. So
I thought about it. In one of the leagues where I had him both times. And I actually, for this start, I was like, well, he handled the Dodgers last time, so I'm going to trust him against the Yankees too. And obviously I'm glad I did. I would be mostly encouraged if I invested in Flaherty at this point.
All right, let's get into the news and notes. As we know, injuries are piling up, but now we're getting more solidified information. Players are officially going on the IL. Wyatt Langford placed on the IL due to a right oblique strain. Apparently, Langford felt, quote, pretty good when he got to the clubhouse on Wednesday, but the Rangers opted to play it safe here. They recalled Dustin Harris from AAA, who has put up some interesting numbers in the minors, just not sure he's going to play that much to really matter for fantasy. So you'll have to find your Wyatt Langford replacement elsewhere. We spoke about, Victor Scott, Jung-Hoo Lee in shallower leagues. I think those names make a lot of sense. This one came out of nowhere. Justin Steele, following his best start of the season, went on the IL with left elbow tendonitis, and he dealt with the same injury back in September of last year, which is clearly worrisome. It's an elbow injury. With that said, he returned pretty quick last season, and he believes that he'll only be out the minimum 15 days. Do you buy?
I hope he's right. I don't trust his medical opinion necessarily, though only he can speak to how he's feeling. And it was a short absence last time, and there clearly was no loss of effectiveness while pitching through this cranky elbow. Because as you mentioned, he had his best start as he was coming down with it. So I did not move him down, Justin Steele. I didn't move him down much in my rankings in the hope that it is a short stay, but I can't sit here and say with great confidence that it is.
All right, let's talk about Pablo Lopez, who is going on the IL with a grade 1 hamstring strain. The hope is that it's also a minimum stay, and lots of people speculating on the interwebs that Zebby Matthews could be next in line here to replace Pablo Lopez. He has made 2 starts at AAA where he's gone 10 innings, 2 runs allowed, 13 strikeouts. And I believe I saw on Twitter that basically lines up with a similar spot in the rotation as Pablo Lopez. So we don't know that yet, but it does make a lot of sense.
I would add him over Tyler Mahle, given the likelihood of it. He's looked great this spring. His velocity was up a couple miles per hour, and he already had elite control, at least judging from his minor league stats. Zebby Matthews has gone to the minors and has continued to do it there. His most recent start, I believe he had 9 strikeouts. Yes, 9 strikeouts in 5 innings. Previous start, 5 one-hit innings. one walk between the two of them. Like, he's doing at AAA exactly what you want to see Zebby Matthews do.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people might be rooting for David Festa, who's also interesting, but he's not off to as good of a start. I don't think he made as strong of an impression in spring training either. So I think this is Zebby Matthews' ticket in. And while we're not anticipating a log absence for Pablo Lopez, if Zebby Matthews holds up his end of the bargain, I think it would be pretty easy for the Twins to cast aside either Chris Paddock or Simeon Woods Richardson when the time comes for Pablo Lopez to return.
Yeah, I think that all makes a ton of sense there. For the
I'm glad.
He's just glad.
Yeah, Scott is glad.
That was all. He just wanted us to know that he's glad.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. You know, Chris, I am not glad because
You know what I actually said? I said, I'm glad you could hear it all. The irony.
You can't mention it. It's like the Max Meyer had a no-hitter into the sixth today. Just can't talk about it.
Insult to injury there. I was going to mention on my Scott White Dynasty League team, I have lost Pablo Lopez, Justin Steele, Zach Eflin in the past.
I mean, that's been a disaster for me too. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
I mean, I lost Kirby and Grayson before the season started. So,
gosh, 2014 points league. It's
and now Reynaldo too.
I'm stuck. It's going to be bad. Fernando Tatis was out of the lineup Wednesday with that left shoulder injury. Mike Schultz said he's optimistic for a Friday return on Tatis. Freddie Freeman will be activated Friday when he's first eligible. Ketel Marte will miss, quote, a series of weeks with that left hamstring strain. Torey Lovullo added, there's no timeline on it. We just got to let him heal, let him recover. And once we get to that point, we'll start to initiate some baseball activities. So, no specific timeline, but Ketel Marte is going to be out a while. Spencer Arrighetti will not require surgery to repair his fractured right thumb. He'll be in a cast for 2 to 3 weeks before getting more imaging done. Jordan Westburg was out of the lineup due to an upper body injury. Very vague. This was also the reason why he sat out a game back on March 30th. So he's dealing with something. We just don't really know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Cronenworth was out of the lineup due to cramping on the right side of his ribs. They're hoping he can return Friday as well. Lane Thomas out of the lineup with that bruised right wrist. Tyler Soderstrom was back in the lineup after dealing with a right calf contusion on Tuesday night. Luis Heel is scheduled to begin a throwing program within the next several days. He's on the IL with a high-grade lat strain. Clark Schmidt will make his final rehab start Thursday. If that goes well, he should rejoin the Yankees after that. The Dodgers optioned Justin Robleski after his rough start on Tuesday night.
I do want to highlight this one because Landon Knack was also pretty bad today.
Yeah.
They've had to cycle through a couple of different starters in recent days. Tony Gonsolin was really good at AAA tonight. 7 strikeouts in like 3 1/3 innings. Only threw like 48 pitches, so I don't know how close he is, but that's a name to keep an eye on. Tony Gonsolin has been very good for fantasy in the past. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery, and there could be an opening for him even on a stacked Dodgers team.
He's a big cat lover, right? I feel like do I have that right? Tony Gonsolin?
That could be right. I
might be thinking about someone else, but I think I don't know. I feel like I've seen some themed Dodger.
He did wear cat cleats for a start once. So yes, they had a little furry tail on them and a little picture of kitties.
That's pretty cool. 15% roster for Tony Gonsolin. So if you're looking to pick him up and stash him, now is the time, at least in some of those deeper leagues. Other players who went on the IL, Mark Hanna with a left abductor strain, Andrew Benintendi with a left adductor strain. Not confusing at all. Ryan Bliss with a left biceps tear. Wanted to mention a few other prospect updates. Pirates pitching prospect Bubba Chandler threw 4 scoreless innings with 8 strikeouts in his latest start at AAA. I think it might have been his first start at AAA. And then
he's getting the Paul Skeens treatment. I think we're going to see a similar timetable there.
Yeah,
I agree.
Maybe sometime in May there for Bubba Chandler.
Yeah, I mean, early May, maybe a month from now. I'm adding Bubba Chandler to the 5 on the Verge in the prospects report. He's replacing Zach Veen, so there's an opening there. Everyone else remains the same, but Bubba Chandler's the new addition.
I don't remember all the names in there, but I'm pretty sure Nick Kurtz was one of them, right, Scott?
Nick Kurtz was, and he remains.
Yes, because he hit his 6th home run already in just 10 games. Trying to figure out how they can get him in the lineup. The most clear opportunity feels like Kurtz and Soderstrom splitting first base and DH. Brent Rooker plays in the outfield. The problem, Brent Rooker has not played a single inning in the outfield so far this season. He's capable of doing it, but he hasn't done it yet. So I think maybe once we see Rooker play a little bit of outfield, that might mean they're starting to think about, okay, let's figure out how we can get Nick Kurtz here up in the lineup. So we'll see.
Do you remember seeing Rooker play the outfield in spring at all? I mean,
he did a couple
there was
times,
talk in November. Okay.
He did, I believe, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember it in particular, but it's...
I can confirm, but I'm pretty sure he did.
I'm not sure how to confirm it without going box score by box score, which would take...
I'll look.
Okay.
Let's take our final break. When we return, we'll do a little bit of this or that right after this quick commercial break.
She knows, and I know she knows.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's do a little this or that. Decision time, some waiver wire decisions, and let's get into it. All right. Well, we spoke about one of these already. It was Max Meyer versus Casey Mize. I believe it was 2-1 in favor of Casey Mize. Another one that we've talked a lot about lately, but Spencer Torkelson is still a lot more rostered than Ben Rice. I kind of get it, like, Torkelson striking out a lot, but still doing some things here. Hit a home run on Tuesday and then came back with another hit and a walk and a run scored on Wednesday. But Ben Rice also stayed hot, 1 for 5 with his 3rd homer. This one came off of a lefty. He had 2 batted balls of at least 107.9 exit velocity. He led off against a right-handed pitcher again in this game. So he is 66% rostered, Ben Rice is. Torkelson, 84%. Who would you rather have?
Yeah, I have Rice ahead for all the reasons you kind of laid out already. He's batting leadoff a lot. I think the plate discipline's better. He's impacting the ball harder, frankly, than Torkelson, certainly at the high-end exit velocities. I'm not saying Torkelson can't have a bounce-back season and couldn't be worth rostering in his own right. I just think Ben Rice, I feel like the breakout potential is a little... It's more like bounce back for potential for Torkelson, I know, but the breakout potential for Ben Rice is a little clearer. The positive signs are a little more positive, and I think there is both more upside and less downside there, particularly if he's going to start playing against left-handers. So,
I agree. Also, Brent Rooker did play 3 games in the outfield. That I checked Mike Curlin's spring training lineup tracker. He's got everything in there. So
all right,
Rooker did get 3 games in. Yep.
Didn't have to go box score by box score.
Let's get some more. Brent Rooker games here in the outfield, and maybe Nick Kurtz sooner rather than later. Let's speak about Geraldo Perdomo, who is off to a great start. 3 for 4 with his 2nd home run. He has hit second 4 games in a row for the D-backs with Ketel Marte on the IL. He's got 2 homers, 2 steals, 13 RBI, batting .333. Would you guys rather have Geraldo Perdomo or Jacob Wilson if you are looking for a shortstop or a middle infielder?
I would say Jacob Wilson, and I'm not going to say what I think a lot of people would like me to say, which is that Jacob Wilson is amazing in the next Luis Ariz, and you're crazy if you don't make him a top 12 shortstop rest of season. I don't believe any of that.
No.
But it's more that I'm pretty confident Geraldo Perdomo is nothing to care about in fantasy, and that this hot start is mostly fueled by his 3.9% K rate, which is maybe Jacob Wilson could do that. He's at around 4% too, but Geraldo Perdomo's normally like 15 to 20% K rate, and this is not going to sustain. And I think he's still the same player. You look at the exit velocity readings, average is a little higher. You'd expect that when a guy's off to a hot start. The max exit velocity is don't see any real obvious growth there. I don't know what to expect from Jacob Wilson, but I know he's still not impacting the ball that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll have a high enough contact rate. Like I said, maybe he can sustain something close to 4% and be Luis Arraez like. But that would be peak Jacob Wilson. That is the upside he's aiming for. And I'm not sure it's exciting enough, particularly to position like shortstop. I mean, shortstop is star-studded. I can't get Anthony Volpe into my top 15. How am I going to do that for Jacob Wilson?
Yeah, you need difference makers at shortstop, and I don't think either of these guys are. The only thing I will say is Perdomo will steal some bases. Wilson probably won't. So it's not a lot. It's probably like 15. I think his career high is 16. He was on a similar pace last year. That would be the only reason I would give Perdomo the edge. But I agree. I'd rather just take the flyer on Wilson.
Let's talk about Mike Yastrzemski, who's off to a nice start, 2 for 5 with his second home run. It was a walk-off home run in the 10th inning of that game. He's batting .344, 2 homers, 2 steals, a .1056 OPS. Mike Yastrzemski or Matt Wallner, if we're comparing platoon outfielders, probably like outfield 4, outfield 5s.
Wallner's in a better park, and I think he's got better power, so I'll go with him, given that the situations are fairly similar otherwise.
Yeah, it's a similar situation to Geraldo Perdomo. I guess the best way to sum it up is you have a better idea both what Yastrzemski and Perdomo are, and it's mediocre at best. And maybe Wallner and Wilson are mediocre too, but it's a situation where you'd rather take the mystery box.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the old man, Carlos Santana. It looks like he still has something left over his last 4 games. He's got 5 hits, 2 homers, and a steal. And Wilmer Flores just continues to mash 3 for 4 with his 5th home run. If we're looking for a deep league corner infielder, Carlos Santana or Wilmer Flores?
Invent a time machine and go back to adding Ben Rice or Tyler Soderstrom or Spencer Torkelson when they were this low rostered. I don't believe in either of these guys. I believe in Santana more, believe it or not. I know Flores was very good in 2023. Not as an everyday player. I think he's more of a lefty masher who spotlights against righties. I don't buy it at all. He's not hitting the ball very hard. I don't think this is going to last.
You would expect the average exit velocity to look better for Wilmer Flores when he has 5 home runs already. It's still like 87 miles per hour. You know, like when you have that many home runs over that short amount of time, normally everything just looks great. And so it's not even worth like digging through the data because it's just going to look good. But in Wilmer Flores' case, it doesn't. And I don't think he's any different than he's ever been. He's just off to a good start.
He has a 29% hard hit rate on 34 batted balls, which if I'm doing the math right, that means he has 10 hard hit balls. He has 5 home runs.
Yeah.
Like that kind of tells you everything.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jonah Heim, who is off to a nice start as well, 2 for 4 with his 3rd home run. And he was actually the DH in this game with Kyle Higashioka at catcher. Jonah Heim also has 2 steals early on, which is pretty interesting. He's hitting the ball really hard. If you're looking for a second catcher, Jonah Heim or Alejandro Kirk, who is actually rostered in more leagues than Jonah Heim right now.
I guess Heim is hot right now, so I'll just play the hot hand there. But I don't think either of them is particularly exciting.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think the upside for Heim is much to get excited about. I understand he was pretty good 2 years ago, and maybe his hot start suggests that last year was more the aberration.
It was very top heavy, though. He was pretty bad after the All-Star break, if I remember correctly, in 2023.
Yeah, he was, though he was dealing with some injuries, and he wasn't nearly as bad as last year. Like last year, I don't know. Yeah, take Heim, second catcher. I would not think about it too hard. I would just go with somebody until he doesn't work anymore.
All right, let's talk about 2 deep league platoon bats. Matt Mervis, who is picking things up, 2 for 5 with his 3rd home run, 3 RBI over his last 4 games. He's got 6 hits, 3 homers, 6 RBI. And Pavin Smith, who had himself a nice game, 3 for 5 with a double and his 1st home run. Again, very deep league stuff here, but would you rather have Matt Mervis or Pavin Smith?
Pavin, who I'm hopeful has kind of gotten past an early season stretch here where the Diamondbacks, they've already faced 5 lefties, and so he's sat more than you expect him to in the long run. But he is off to a slow start with that sporadic playing time. He's striking out about twice as much as he did last year. But if Pavin Smith gets that strikeout rate down around 20%, like it was last year, high walk rate, that's always been there for him. His expected stats, 293 XBA, 529 X slug. He was hitting the ball harder last year. It looked like he made a leap, and I think that leap is the main reason why the Diamondbacks were willing to let Jock Peterson go, is because they genuinely wanted to get Pavin Smith in the lineup. And I think the platoon situation is going to leave him for 5 outfielder leagues and nothing shallower. But I think he's more interesting than Matt Mervis, who has picked up first base eligibility. So you can play him somewhere, still striking out at like a 40% rate. And there's a lot more reason to believe that's just the norm for Mervis than that Pavin Smith's high strikeout rate is the norm for him.
What do you call a guy who builds a road out of molten metal?
Pavin Smith.
A Pavin Smith, yes.
Jeez.
I was just spent the last minute or so trying to get there. I think I landed. I think that was okay.
Okay.
It was okay.
It's not the best one ever, but it worked. Yeah. No, I think it was pretty good.
I don't have a this or that for this player, but do you have any deep league interest in Zach McKinstry, who is off to a nice start? He has started 9 of 12 games. He has third base, shortstop, and outfield eligibility on CBS.
No. The multi-eligibility is interesting, but I think as anything more than an injury replacement now, this is all I think this is all BABIP inflated, I think.
Mm-hmm. He's not even playing every day, McKinstry. So I think this is AL only, very deep league type of play.
All right, let's move over to a little bit of buy or sell. Manny Machado, 2 for 3 with 2 walks and his 6th stolen base of the season. 6 steals in 13 games. Last year, he had 11 steals in 152 games. Buy or sell, Machado will set a career high in steals this season.
I was going to ask, what is higher? Manny Machado's stolen base total at the end of the season or Manny Machado's percentile rank and sprint speed? Because he is 22nd percentile in sprint speed right now, which is actually up from 13th percentile last year. Although I kind of do think he's faster than that, and he just doesn't bother unless he needs to, which we've seen some high profile examples of that from Machado. So he has been a better stolen base guy than you would think, given his sprint speed numbers in recent years. I would sell a new career high, but when he's already got 6 in 12 games or whatever, he only needs 14 in 150 games. That's not far off the pace of what I would have expected.
He's not, to be clear, he hasn't been much of a base stealer in his career. He had the 20 steal season as a 22-year-old in 2015. That's how long ago it was. And he hasn't had a 15 steal season since. He's had
he's
4
been around
double-digit steal seasons ever. So 20's a high bar to meet. It stolen base, even more than home runs, are you do not expect an even distribution of those over the course of a season. Some people are freaking out because Corbin Carroll hasn't stolen a base on April 10th. There's still a good chance he ends the month with 5 stolen bases or more. And even if he doesn't, I would still bet on him getting 30 plus this year. Yeah. Even if he doesn't steal a single base in April. And meanwhile, I'm curious I'd be curious to know how many of Manny Machado's were part of on the back end of a double steal.
Yeah, or just uncontested,
Yeah. And I'm not sure I could find that out, but I don't think he's just going to he because he's only 14 away from a career high already. I could see it. But even then, you're asking Manny Machado, whose second most steals in an entire season is 14, to have 14 from this point forward.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you can think of steals maintaining their pace like that. I think he's going to drop off. So I will sell.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he can get somewhere in the mid-teens this season for Manny Machado. Well, let's talk about Corbin Carroll. You brought up the name here. 2 for 5 with his 5th home run. He has homered in back-to-back games. Hard to steal bases when all you do is hit home runs, obviously. He's pulling the ball more than ever. He's hitting it really hard. Buy or sell, Corbin Carroll sets a career high in home runs. The previous high was 25.
This is another one where I expected 20 plus. And now he only needs 20 to match his career high in the next 149 games. So, yeah, I'll buy this one.
Yeah, I have an easier time buying this one. I think you can actually take more from an early season home run pace. Not that you can take a lot, but you can take more than from an early season steals pace.
He has set a new max exit velo high, right? Yep.
I believe so.
Already.
And
yeah,
I seem to recall him setting a high, like hitting higher exit velos this spring too.
I think he had a high one, like one or two really high one in spring as well.
He's still really young, and part of his career was impaired by shoulder issues that he seems to be past now. So I think I feel good about this one. I'll buy Corbin Carroll setting a career high in home runs.
Next up is Hunter Brown, who pitched really well at the Mariners. 6 shutout innings, 2 hits, 0 walks, 3 strikeouts, 13 whiffs on 98 pitches. Maybe he deserved a few more strikeouts than the 3 that he wound up with here, but he's off to a really nice start. The velocity has been up overall this season. It was down a little bit in this particular start, but buy or sell, Hunter Brown is a top 25 starting pitcher rest of season.
I was working on the newsletter and I said, I wrote something like, I think he should probably be a top 30 starting pitcher the rest of the way. I'm just not sure I can do it. Like, would you rather have Bailey Ober or Hunter Brown the rest of the way?
It's close.
I think you can make a case for Brown.
Like I updated my rankings here on Wednesday and I moved Hunter Brown up to 30, but the names that I have in the 22 to 25 range, Nola, Ober, Bryce Miller, Joe Ryan, like Hunter Brown could be better than those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
I moved Christopher. So I have Hunter Brown 31st. Now I just moved Christopher Sanchez ahead of him. So I did have Brown in the top 30 until I moved Christopher Sanchez. What do you think of that, Christopher?
It seems a little aggressive. I mean, I get why you're doing it with the velocity being up and maybe there's a new level of untapped potential for Sanchez, but you might be able to say the same thing about Hunter Brown.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's
velocity up too.
Yeah.
And it was pretty miserable for the first couple months. Curiously, he threw his fastball, I think 42% of the time in this one, which is more than usual. And he took a leap last year when he cut back on the fastball usage. So I don't know that that's a move in the right direction for Hunter Brown, but he got a decent number of whiffs with it and has obviously looked good so far. He's not he generally hasn't been a big swing and miss guy. There's been kind of like been a little bit of a Mitch Keller element to Hunter Brown early in his career. I don't think it's as extreme as Keller, but that makes me a little wary of saying, okay, he's had a good run here. I guess he's just fine, because I think a disaster start could skew that at some point. Hopefully not. But yeah, I have him just outside my top 30, which means I'm not going to call him top 25 either.
All right. So that's a sell for you. Is that a sell for Chris as well?
Can't get him to top 25. I'm trying to get him to top 30, and I'm not sure who I can kick out for it yet, but he probably should be top 30.
I do have Justin Steele, Blake Snell, George Kirby, Pablo Lopez, and Spencer Strider all ahead of him. So if you just want to move the guys on the IL behind him, then I guess Hunter Brown is just about there, but I rank them ahead of him for a reason.
Yeah. Let's talk about Teoscar Hernandez, who's off to a great start, 2 for 5 with his 5th home run, 3 RBI in this one. He's batting .283, 5 homers, 16 RBI, 2 steals, 939 OPS. One of the bold predictions that I toyed with this season was that Teoscar Hernandez is the most valuable Dodger hitter this season, which would take a few different things happening, probably players not staying healthy, but buy or sell, Teoscar Hernandez winds up better this year than last year.
I'll sell it, but I think it'll be close. I don't see much like in the skill set to believe that there's like a big leap coming. He's obviously 32 years old as well, so that is a reason to bet against it. But it's not like I think Teoscar Hernandez is going to be significantly worse this season than he was last.
It's basically a push. So if he hits 34 homers instead of 33 or drives in 104 runs instead of 99, was he better? I guess so, but it would be just around the margins like that. So I sell it also.
All right, let's talk about few quick reliever ones here. Robert Suarez got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He walked one, picked up his league-leading 6th save of the season. Buy or sell? We messed up.
Well, I know I messed up in one league where I took Jordan Romano over Robert Suarez, even though I ranked Suarez ahead, and I probably just wasn't on enough sleep and didn't have enough time on the clock and panicked and picked the wrong guy. So I know I messed up in that league, but I was backing Suarez when you guys were trying to write him off. I was the Robert Suarez standing against the legions of people who wanted to push him down draft boards.
Yeah, I buy this one. I messed up.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's starting to change up more, and that's an awesome pitch for him. Yeah, it's not looking good for the skeptics and haters.
And the velocity too. We were worried about that in spring. It's another maybe
mostly been there.
Just like, yeah, don't pay attention to spring. But he averaged 99.1 on the fastball last year, 98.6 so far this season for Robert Suarez.
Every closer's velocity was down this spring.
Yeah, it was just a little bit more worrisome for me for Suarez just because he relied on that fastball so much. But he's good so far in the regular season. Let's talk about Jose Alvarado, who recorded the final 4 outs here on Wednesday. He gave up 2 hits with 2 strikeouts. He actually picked up the win in this game because the Phillies took the lead in the top of the 9th. But he's 61% rostered. Buy or sell. Jose Alvarado is a must-roster relief pitcher in fantasy.
Maybe not in head-to-head points leagues, but everywhere else, yeah.
If he's just the Phillies closer, then
he might.
He'll quickly become must roster in every league if that's the case. So it's just a question of how sure are we of that. I'm pretty sure he's the Phillies closer right now.
Mm-hmm.
The only one else who has been used in that role is Jordan Romano, and I think he's pitched his way out of even high leverage at this point. Yeah. So it really is just Alvarado. Doesn't mean Orion Kerkering couldn't work his way in, or Matt Strom or anybody else. I think that's pretty likely to happen at some point, just given Rob Thompson's tendencies and given Alvarado's history. But right now it does appear to be Alvarado, and I have him 24th in my relief pitcher rankings for Roto.
His velocity is up about 2 miles per hour, and he's got, I guess it's a new curveball. I don't know. He has sporadically mixed curveballs in the past, but I think he's got like a new slower one that has looked good when he's thrown it.
Yeah, I was fun with small sample sizes here. He's thrown 6 1/3 innings with 12 strikeouts so far. It's a 17% K per 17 K per 9, 2.8 walks per 9, a 0.22 FIP and a 0.92 xFIP so far. 61% ground ball rate for Jose Alvarado as well. So he has been disgusting. Let's get into the leftovers from Wednesday's action and talk about Joe Ryan, who had his best start of the season at the Royals. 7 shutout innings with 4 strikeouts, 10 whiffs on 85 pitches. Still gave up some hard contact in this one, but what did you guys see here? How did Joe Ryan succeed? Did you come away encouraged from some of the underlying numbers?
I'm finding him to be pretty confusing.
Yeah,
overall.
I agree with that.
So he did get his fastball velocity up over 93 for the first time this year. It was 94 last year. He is throwing the second hardest. It's down from last year, but it's still the second hardest of his career. He got more whiffs even when he was throwing more like 92 in previous years than he's gotten this year. So I think he's a good control pitcher, but if he's not missing enough bats, are the home runs eventually going to get the better of him? That's my concern for Ryan. I think he could be pretty unpredictable on a start-to-start basis.
All right, well, let's one other waiver wire pitcher we didn't talk about was Eric Fetty, who threw 6 no-hit innings with 2 strikeouts at the Pirates. More walks and strikeouts in this one, but he had 14 whiffs on 88 pitches. He's 63% rostered. Might be in line for 2 starts next week against the Astros and at the Mets. So not the best matchups, but a really good start here. Any interest in Eric Fetty?
He's fine to have around. He's also fine to drop when there's someone with upside available. Him and Max Meyer are rostered in roughly the same number of leagues. If any of them overlap, if you've got Eric Fetty and Max Myers available in any of your leagues, just go ahead and drop Eric Fetty.
Yeah. One other name I think you can drop is Sean Burke. If you picked him up after that first start, he's still 42% rostered, and he's been pretty bad since. So you can go ahead and drop Sean Burke. What to do with these 3 starting pitchers? Nick Martinez, Justin Verlander, and Grant Holmes. All kind of mixed results here. Verlander, the final line, like the earned runs bad, but 9 strikeouts, 20 whiffs in this outing on 90 pitches.
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from? What are you guys doing with Martinez, Verlander, and Grant Holmes right now?
I actually think Verlander is probably the most interesting of these 3. Context neutral, right? If you're in a head-to-head points league, Holmes and Martinez being RP eligible probably gives them an edge. Although
I like Holmes a lot.
I don't.
I do.
I don't think his command is good enough as a starter. I don't think his fastball is particularly good. I know the slider and curveball are good pitches. The slider especially was wicked today, and he threw some to Trey Turner that were just Trey Turner looked real dumb on a couple of those swings. That's not something you see very often, but
it had 4 extra
I don't
inches.
think he's just actually a great pitcher.
It had 4 extra inches of vertical movement. They were talking on the broadcast about how he'd worked with Rick Kranitz to tweak it prior to this start. That's the Braves pitching coach. And we're giving him a lot of credit for the way his slider looked in this start. Of course, we saw him post huge whiff rates, like genuinely huge whiff rates during his time as a starter last year. Brief though it was, we saw him work deeper into games than he's been able to. He hasn't been that efficient so far. I'll grant that. Too many deep counts, too many foul balls in this start really drove up the pitch count, prevented him from going 5 innings, even though he was pitching well.
Well, also 8 walks in 2 starts.
Yeah. But it is just 2 starts.
Sure.
And he's also faced the Dodgers and Phillies in those 2 starts.
And at least in this start, he got a ton of whiffs, which is what I wanted to see. So I find Holmes the most interesting. Martinez and Verlander, I'd be fine dropping in a standard 12-team league. I'm not saying they'll never be worth picking up again. I just don't think the upside for either is high enough that you have to ride them out through this low point. By the way, that the last time Justin Verlander had 20 whiffs in a start, it wasn't a good start, but the 20 whiffs. The last time he had that many was 2019.
Wow.
When he did it multiple times because he struck out 300 batters that year.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's
I think Verlander was pretty good in this one. I know the results weren't great, 5 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings, but only 1 batted ball with an expected batting average over 400. And that's a skill that has mostly remained intact for Justin Verlander in recent years. Now his strikeout rate and whiff rates are up in the early going. He's tweaked his pitch mix and his grips on some of his pitches. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not saying Justin Verlander is back, but he has a 399 FIP and a 368 xFIP. I think he can still be pretty useful.
some other pitching leftovers here. 4 names who were good to great: Mitch Keller, Brandon Pfaadt, Tanner Houck, and Seth Lugo. And then Shota Imanaga, who was not good, doomed by the home run. Gave up 2 of those here. Wound up with 5 runs over 5 innings. But anything that stood out to you guys for Imanaga, Lugo, Tanner Houck, Brandon Pfaadt, and Mitch Keller?
So Keller also had what appeared to be an improved slider. And actually the slider hasn't been a huge part of his repertoire this whole time. It only entered into it last year. He'd been throwing a sweeper primarily and still has the sweeper, but the slider's become a bigger part of his arsenal. 6 of his 11 whiffs came on it in this start. He threw 23% of the time. I doubt it really changes the game for Mitch Keller. He is one of those pitchers who has a full arsenal of pitches, an entire kitchen sink that he throws at the opposition. And so I think if he sticks with that approach, the addition of another pitch, okay, maybe it'll work better some days, but I don't know that it's going to be a game changer for Keller. So I just thought it was worth pointing out, and he'll continue to remain maddening on a start-to-start basis. Better for head-to-head points than for Roto.
I agree with that.
Among those you didn't mention here, I just want to point this out. Ryan Pepio had kind of a mixed start as well. 3 earned runs in 5 innings against the Angels, 15 whiffs. So he was able to miss bats with all 3 of his pitches. He did allow 3 home runs at Swamp Brenner Field. So he avoided the home runs there. His first start, a great start against the Rockies. Second start there, the home runs came. And he's not going to give up 3 home runs every start, but I do think that's going to be the problem for Pepio at that venue, even if he is missing bats like he did in this start.
I do want to point out with Imanaga, strikeouts have been not there so far. He hasn't had a start yet with more strikeouts than innings after being basically a 1-to-1 last year. But he had 15 whiffs in this one, 13.5% swinging strike rate overall. I'm not worried about Imanaga.
Yeah, I think the strikeouts are going to be totally fine for that exact reason that you mentioned. Some hitting left over is Corey Seager, 2 for 5 with a double dong. Nice to see after the report that he's apparently still working through that calf injury. Ellie De La Cruz had that huge game last week. He's been pretty quiet outside of that, but 2 hits here, 2 RBI. And I wanted to mention, while the strikeout rate is high, 29% for Ellie, 91% zone contact and 11% swinging strike rate. Those are really, really good marks for the underlying plate discipline metrics there for Ellie De La Cruz. Jung-Hoo Lee finished a home run short of the cycle. CJ Abrams returned with a bang, 1 for 5 with a sock and a shoe, his 4th home run and 3rd steal. Cam Smith, some signs of life after sitting out Sunday and Monday, 2 for 4 with a run and RBI. On Tuesday, he went 1 for 3 with a triple and an RBI. And Randy Arozarena, one of the wackiest games you will see. He hit a grand slam in the 8th inning to pull the Mariners within 1 run, I believe. And then he had a walk-off bases-loaded walk in the 9th inning of that game. So it is a wacky game here, but anything you guys would like to add on these hitters?
So with regards to Ellie De La Cruz, his whiff rate, his whiffs per swing seems to have improved so far, especially like you said on pitches in the strike zone. It's just his pitch decisions have been his swing decisions have been really bad. His chase rate is actually lower than last year. His zone swing rate is down to 50%, though. He's just been too passive, not swinging at the right pitches. So if he can do both, right? Like if he can combine the improved contact rate and get back to swinging at the right pitches a little more, that would be a big deal. I'm skeptical that that'll be the case. I wasn't really buying the Ellie De La Cruz breakout arguments, but I think he's better than he's been so far, at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think overall encouraging, but I did notice that he was being a bit passive as well. So we'll see how that plate discipline evolves here for Ellie De La Cruz. The call to the bullpen for the Pirates, Dennis Santana fired 2 scoreless innings across the 9th and the 10th innings, and he did that with the game tied. He struck out 1, and he's looked pretty good so far for the Pirates. For the Marlins, Anthony Bender entered with 1 out in the 7th inning, had a 2-run lead. He recorded the next 5 outs of the game. The Marlins tacked on 3 more runs in the 9th, giving them a 5-run lead. Chris, any idea who would have closed out this game if it remained a safe situation for the Marlins?
I was not able to see the bullpen from my seats in the right field bleachers. So
I texted you like, who's coming in? I don't know.
Yeah. What's the guy's name? Venetiano. I think he was warming at first, but he's a lefty. That might've just been a matchups thing. And then, the Mervis home run in the top of the ninth made that a moot point.
It does kind of seem like Clayton McCulloch. Is that how you say his last name?
Mm-hmm.
I've been reluctant to say it so far because I'm not sure I'm saying it right. McCulloch, the Marlins manager. Does anybody know?
To be honest, I don't know.
McCulloch.
Clayton McCulloch.
So.
Anyway, I'm kind of getting the sense he's going to be a play the matchups type, which is
not great on a
toxic.
team that's not going to have a lot of save opportunities anyway.
That is a bad situation.
Yep. For the Yankees, Devin Williams entered the ninth inning with a 4-run lead. He gave up 3 runs on 2 walks and 2 hits. He was relieved by Mark Leiter Jr., who got the final out for his first save. It's been a pretty rough start for Devin Williams, but obviously a really small sample size. For the Reds, Emilio Pagan came on for the 10th inning with the game tied. He gave up a walk-off 2-run homer to lose that game. For the Dodgers, Tanner Scott entered in the 7th inning with a 1-run lead, facing the top of the Nationals lineup, C.J. Abrams, James Wood, and Keibert Ruiz. So 2 lefties there. He struck out 2. It was Blake Trinan who got the 9th inning, gave up a single and a walk, but got out of it for his 2nd save of the season. For the Astros, Josh Hader was unavailable. Brian Abreu got the 9th. He gave up 3 runs on 3 hits and 2 walks. He took his 2nd blown save and first loss of the season. For the Guardians, Emmanuel Clase got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He gave up a run on a walk and 3 hits, and honestly, should have blew the save. Did you guys watch this at all?
No, I didn't see this.
So he had bases loaded with a 2-run lead. He gave up a single, 1-run scores. Mike Tauchman is flying around third base, and he re-injures his hamstring, and he gets caught at home plate, just kind of like hobbling. So like he pulled his hammy, but if he was just running, I think he would have been safe. So it would have been a blown save there for Emmanuel Clase. But he's
been a little shaky early on, but I don't see any good reason to think it'll continue. Like I don't see, other than the results themselves, I don't see any red flags there for Emmanuel Clase.
I agree.
I didn't want to blow past the Dodgers thing. It does seem like on the days they used Tanner Scott earlier because lefties are due up in a high leverage situation. Like it's becoming clearer Blake Trinan is kind of the right-handed alternative, even though it probably should be Kirby Yates. Trinan has consistently been used in that backup closer role. So in deep leagues where saves are scarce, I think he probably needs to be rostered.
Can I say one pitcher thing that's not relief pitcher? We didn't talk about him at all. Sorry, I know we're running long. Yusei Kikuchi. His arm angle has dropped from 42 degrees last year to 32 degrees this year. So he's throwing from a lower angle. And that is either a conscious choice, which seems like a bad idea because he finally broke out in the second half of last year. So why would you change that? Yeah. Or his arm is dropping because he's not healthy. Either way, I think it's bad. So that's something I noticed that is, I'm not saying drop Yusei Kikuchi because obviously we've seen bad stretches from him and then he figures it out, but I'm okay sitting him for the time being.
That sounds like a big drop, 10 degree drop. Is it? Or I haven't worked with those numbers very much.
Yeah, you don't see, that's not like you'll see fluctuation from year to year. Like he had gone from 42 to 44. A 10-degree drop is pretty significant. Yeah.
It looks like he's in line for 2 starts next week against the Giants and at the Rangers. So
yeah, I would start him in points leagues, I guess, but probably not in Roto. I'm not feeling great about him right now.
Is it possible? It's just it's neither a choice nor health, but just his mechanics aren't right.
I mean, his mechanics could just be off. That's also possible.
Again, that was Kikuchi that we were just talking about. A few other bullpens here for the Rays. P. Fairbanks close out the game for his 2nd save, and for the Braves, Raisel Iglesias got the 9th with the game tied. He gave up a solo homer to Trey Turner and took his 2nd loss of the season. To stream or not to stream on Thursday, there is not much going on here. Soriano at the Rays, Zach Littell versus the Angels. Really your only options.
I think Soriano's fine. I think Littell's fine.
Yeah,
I think they're
both
fine.
Yeah. What about on Friday? We have Tomoyuki Sugano facing the Blue Jays. We have Mitchell Parker at the Marlins, Reese Olson at the Twins, Eduardo Rodriguez home against the Brewers. And I don't know, Griffin Canny and JP Sears are facing each other, but
Yeah.
don't love the matchups.
I'd probably go with Rodriguez, Olson, and Sugano in that order.
I would go Olson, Sugano. Do I want to do Rodriguez? I might prefer Canning to Rodriguez. I like what I've seen from him so far. And still don't have a ton of confidence in the Athletics lineup that he's facing.
Probably should unmute myself. I like Mitchell Parker as well, just because of the matchup
matchup, yeah.
here at the Marlins. So I will throw that one in the mix as well. We are going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.